Frumess talks about Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Let's all talk about Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
Blue Monkey from 1987, directed by William Fruet. Fruet? Is that how you say it? Fruet. They breed, they hatch, they kill. Maybe it's just a phase that they're going through. So what always drew me to the poster, drew me to the film Blue Monkey was this poster, man. This poster is so crazy. Look at this thing. I mean, that is crazy looking poster. That poster, I mean, I always saw that poster. It's like, what is the Blue Monkey? What does it have to do with this guy and this weird like seaweed? Like, I always thought it was like an aquatic horror film. For some reason, I thought like a blue monkey had to do with maybe sea monkeys, and it doesn't have anything to do with any of that. I don't really know. I still couldn't really. Well, I mean, I know what it's about now, but like all the way up until watching, I went into the movie. I was like, I don't know what the hell this movie is about. Whilst working in a greenhouse, a man receives an insect bite after touching an exotic plant. Immediately, he falls ill and is taken to the emergency room where the doctors diagnose him as suffering from an unknown bacteria and a strange parasite which emerges from his mouth as a large, slimy, worm-like creature. Soon there are more cases of bacterial infection, but the more immediate problem from the hospital is the worm-like creature, which, after an accidental exposure to a genetic growth stimulant, grows to monstrous proportions and starts a reign of terror and bloodshed in the hospital's abandoned wing. And you got Steve Railsback is in this. I think I forgot what I called him in my review. That's his name, is Steve Railsback. And you also have John Vernon makes an appearance as well. John Vernon's also in Attack of the Killer Clowns. He's in a bunch of stuff. And yeah, it's like, it's basically your typical 50s science, sci-fi monster film gone wrong. Here's what I had to say about it. Another long time queued, but never watched until now. I was always attracted to the poster of the dude screaming in conjunction with a title like Blue Monkey. What on earth could this be about? Turns out it's about mutant insects, which is fine. It takes the alien monster in the house premise and plugs it into a hospital under quarantine setting with 50s sci-fi monster archetypes. So what do I mean by that? Well, first you have your standard mutant insect, which is very common in the 50s, all the 50s sci-fi horror films, wherever, you know, radiation makes the ant or the tarantula or whatever grow to hideous proportions. And then, you know, the premise of Monster in the House. So what is Monster in the House? It's basically, you know, your protagonists are trapped inside of a house with a monster and there's no escape. A great example is Alien. They're trapped in space on a spaceship with a monster. It also is a haunted house movie where there's, you know, the monster is haunting the Nostromo. In this case, it's a hospital, and instead of a xenomorph, it's mutant insects, right? And then, you know, the other thing that, and then what traps them in there is they're under quarantine, and that's what traps them in their house with the monster. And then you have also like the archetypes, the character archetypes from 50 sci-fi monster films. You have the hero with the gun, who's Steve Railsback, who also played, he was Ed Gein in the Ed Gein movie. I think that's what he's probably known for more than anything. He also has his female sidekick who works in the hospital and is kind of like a semi-romantic interest, though they really don't explore that in this movie. And then you also have the expositional scientist. And what do I mean by that? It's the scientist who explains all the science that's happening in this movie, or the biology, or whatever it is, whatever it may be. In this case, he's describing the biology of this alien. Not this alien, sorry. I meant this insect, this mutant insect. There's some fun monster action, but I think what prevents Blue Monkey from having a higher profile in cult status has to do with the mutant insect monster. They do a great job of making it like, you know, dart around and show that it's like agile, but it's just not a very interesting monster. It's like The Thing, but if they only kept it to like insect parts, you know what I mean? So you kind of get like, I also got a lot of like Fly 2 vibes. There's like it's very similar to the Fly 2, although the Fly 2 monster is so much better. Eric Stoltz as the Fly is really hideous and monstrous. And it's gross, but it's not scary, and it's just rather unremarkable and unworthy of a title like Blue Monkey. And the reason why they call it Blue Monkey is because these kids, you have these little kids who have leukemia in the hospital, and they sort of have this like fantasy of a blue monkey, and trying to imagine what is, terrorizing the hospital. It's the best way that I can describe it verbally for you right now. And those little kids fucking ruled. More on that in a second. Actually, not in a second. How about right now? Speaking of which, these little kids ruled, especially the main kid with the red hat. He was just a hero, man, and he was super helpful in trying to help patients escape and navigate the tunnel systems under the hospital. The movie also serves as an important reminder. Oh, I did call him. He was Steve Railsback. Steve Railsback would have been the perfect casting choice for Iggy Pop. This dude was born to play Iggy Pop in an Iggy Pop biopic. I don't know about now, but like back then in the 80s, in the late 80s, abso-friggin-lutely, he would have been perfect to play Iggy Pop for some sort of, imagine if they did like a Jim Morrison, Doors, Oliver Stone type movie, but they had Steve Railsback playing Iggy Pop. It just would work really well. The gore and the kills are pretty great in Blue Monkey. Again, the best thing about Blue Monkey is this poster. This poster is so magical. It's a magical poster. And like, I take one look at that. Like, I take one look on that image and I'm like, that's a movie I want to watch. I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. Check it out. That was movie 24, Blue Monkey. Me, I'm a monkey.